Hi everyone, welcome to Simple Concepts. I'm your educator नियति पर. Guys, इस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो में हम देखेंगे इफेक्ट्स ऑफ लिबरलाइजेशन ऑन इंडियन इकोनॉमी एंड द सोसाइटी. ऑल्सो हम कवर करेंगे इसमें इंडिया इज इन इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी ऑफ इंडिया, लिबरलाइजेशन एंड इट्स इम्पैक्ट. सो गाइज, आपके सिलेबस में जीएस पेपर 3 में ये टॉपिक इंक्लूड किया है, इफेक्ट्स ऑफ लिबरलाइजेशन ऑन इकोनॉमी, चेंजेस इन इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी एंड देयर इफेक्ट्स ऑन इंडस्ट्रियल स्ट्रेंथ. तो अभी देखेंगे हम किस प्रकार से एंटायर टॉपिक कवर करेंगे. सो फर्स्ट वी विल लुक इनटू द ग्रोथ रेट, देन वी विल फोकस ऑन इंडस्ट्रीज, एग्रीकल्चर, सर्विसेज, education sector and the health sector. We will also discuss about what was the need of bringing up industrial policy, arguments against industrial policy, common instruments of industrial policy, and evolution and changes of industrial policy in India. So before guys we actually start up with this discussion, let me tell you all, आपको एक बहुत ही बड़ा गोल्डन अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है आपको टू इंश्योर योर सिलेक्शन इन यूपीएससी सीएसई 2021. जैसा कि आपको पता होगा, यूपीएससी ने नए डेट्स डिक्लेयर किए हैं और अभी आपके लिए काफ़ी ज़्यादा वक्त है बिकॉज ऑफ लॉकडाउन. ऑल्सो आपके लिए आई थिंक आपको बहुत ज़्यादा वक्त मिला होगा एंड आई बिलीव आपने उसका सही से इस्तेमाल भी किया होगा. So Unacademy brings to you 3 comprehensive batches for complete preparation. आपको Simply Plus सब्सक्रिप्शन देना है Unacademy का और इससे बेनिफिट्स गाइस आपको ये मिलेंगे. They have bilingual GS बैच कोर्सेज, हिंदी के GS बैच कोर्सेज हैं और इंग्लिश के भी हैं. दे आर स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 8 ऑफ जून 2020, जहाँ पे आपको फुल सिलेबस कवरेज मिलेगा. आपकी प्रीलिम्स और मेंस की टेस्ट सीरीज होंगी, मतलब आपके लिए स्पेशल टेस्ट सीरीज डिजाइन की जाएगी. और लॉन्ग विथ आपको बस आंसर ही नहीं करना होगा, बट आपके जो आंसर्स आप लिखते हो उनके एनालिसिस भी किए जाएंगे. ऑल्सो आपके लिए डेडिकेटेड डाउट क्लियरिंग सेशंस रखे जाएंगे. और तो और इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन के लिए भी आपको यहाँ अनअकैडमी प्लस पे जो मेंटर्स है वो आपकी सहायता करेंगे. और अगर आप जब भी आप अपना फी पेमेंट करते हो, आपको अगर यहाँ पे डिस्काउंट चाहिए हो, देन यू कैन यूज आवर कोड ओवर हियर व्हिच यू कैन सी ऑन योर कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन. इट इज SIMPLEYT. अगर आप ये कोड यूज करते हो तो आपको 10% डिस्काउंट स्ट्रेट अवे मिल जाता है. ऑल्सो गाइज, अनअकैडमी की यूपीएससी चैंपियनशिप चल रही है वेर इन देर आर ऑल इंडिया फ्री मॉक टेस्ट दैट आर देयर फॉर यूपीएससी सीएससी प्रीलिम्स 2020. तो अगर आप अभी के लिए एनरोल करते हो देन यू विल बी गेटिंग इट फॉर फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट. गाइज, यहाँ पे बेनिफिट आपको ये रहेगा कि बहुत ही बड़े एक्सपर्ट्स और मेंटर्स आपको यहाँ पे मिलेंगे. सो जैसे कि राकेश वर्मा सर, मृणाल पटेल सर एंड आतिश माथुर सर जैसे बहुत बड़े मेंटर्स से आपको गाइडेंस मिलेगा. सो हैविंग सेड दैट, लेट्स स्टार्ट आवर टुडेज डिस्कशन गाइज. So we have seen a landmark shift in Indian economy since the adoption of new economic policy in 1991. हम सभी जानते हैं 1991 में इंडिया ऑलमोस्ट एक कगार पे था फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस में जाने का. बट जस्ट देन द देन फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ऑफ आवर कंट्री डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह, उन्होंने LPG रिफॉर्म्स लाए. सो देखते हैं आगे क्या क्या हुआ. So this had far-reaching impacts on all the spheres of life in India. There can be no concrete conclusion about their impacts on Indian people. This turns out to be, more of an ideological debate like capitalism versus socialism. But there is no doubt in the fact that those reforms were unavoidable and very compelling. Now there was in fact similar wave all across the globe with the disintegration of USSR and end of Cold War. तो वही एक ज़माना था जहाँ पे USSR डिसइंटीग्रेट हुआ था और कोल्ड वॉर का भी ज़माना शुरू हुआ था in between Russia and the US. So many post-colonial democratic regimes which were earlier sheltered by USSR, they lost their umbrella. They had no option but to fall in line to the new unipolar world order dictated by USA. So even China in late 1980s, they adopted this open door policy through which it was liberalized its economy by shedding communist mentality completely. Southeast Asian economies also reformed their economy and started engaging more with global economy. These, along with China, pursued export-led growth, whereas Indian economy still relies almost wholly on domestic consumption. Now we have that ultra-modern and ultra-primitive society coexisting and conflicting with each other. On one side, social institutions like personal law boards, CAPs and kangaroo courts, etc., tries to uphold their control over their respective community members. On the other hand, there is Western wave pulling out these very members. Undoubtedly, strongest revolution of new country has been one of information technology, which started in last years of the past century. Now this revolution was different because it made globalization even more obvious and stark. It made possible transfer of real-time human labor across the nation without transferring humans themselves. Further, it erased all boundaries with hinder free flow of information. This has benefited sharing, nurturing and development of knowledge and in societies which earlier had an access only to substandard or non-updated information. As always, package is coupled with some grim realities too. Governments all across the world had completely lost their capacity to regulate and ward off against malicious, false, sensitive information and content. Rise of Islamic State demonstrates that IT revolution had helped development of global terrorist links more like anything. So moreover, excliped content is freely available on web to which unmatured children had unrestricted access. Now speaking about the GDP growth rate, so India's annual average growth rate from 1990 to 2010 had been 6.6%, which is almost double than pre-reforms era. Now GDP growth rate surpassed 5% mark in early 1980s. This made impact of 1990s reform on growth unclear. Some believe that 1980s reform were a precursor to LPG reform. Other things apart, it is clear that 1980s reform led to crash of economy in 1991, which was remediated by LPG reforms, which were quite more comprehensive. It was IMF loan which gave governments to adjust its economy. It was larger ever loan given by the International Monetary Fund. So initially there were global doubts on India's credibility for loan, but India has been so far a very disciplined borrower. Now speaking about industrial growth rate in India, so barring few years, industrial growth rate has been not much impressive. Share of industry will still remain stagnantly low at 25%. Worst is that India has transitioned to be service-led economy directly from an agrarian one. they completely बहुत बड़ा transformation हुआ. So one exhibition of this is end of policy of imports substitution, which derived industrial growth up to 1990. Foreign companies got free access to Indian market and they made domestic products uncompetitive. So they obviously had better access to technology and larger economies of scale. India's position also lagged on account of research and innovation. वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा India lag कर रहा था behind. Import substitution required certain degree of investment and efforts in domestic production. It was carried out even when imports were cheaper. This resulted in good and better capacity building up to that time. This was coupled with constant technology denial by West, which further pushed government to spend on research and development. Technology denial ended with liberalization and globalization. Till that time, Indian industries was better and modern than that of the China. But in 2 decades, China had surpassed India by huge margin in case of both industry and innovation. Now let us know impact on small scale in India. So this impact shall be studied right from the beginning of colonialization in 18th century. Colonization can be considered as first wave of globalization. In pre-colonization era, India's textile and handicrafts were re-owned worldwide and it was backbone of Indian economy. With coming of industrial revolution along with the foreign rule in India, Indian economy suffered a major setback as much of its indigenous small-scale cottage industry was destroyed. So after independence, government attempted to revive small-scale sector by reserving items exclusively for its manufacture. With liberalization, list of reserved items was substantially curtailed and many new sectors were thrown open to big players. Now, small scale industry, however, exists and still remains backbone of Indian economy. It contributes to major portion of exports and private sector employment. Results are mixed. Many erstwhile small scale industries got bigger and better, but overall value addition, product and innovation and technology adoption, they remains dismissal, and they exist only on backbone government support. On the back of government support, I mean. So their products are contested by cheaper imports from China. Policies of government towards SSI were covered with with our previous discussions, which we will of course हम आगे भी जाके देखेंगे. Now let us see the impact of all these things on agriculture. So as we had already said, share of agriculture in domestic economy has declined to about 15%. However, people dependent upon agriculture are still around 55%. Cropping patterns has undergone a huge change, but impact of liberalization can't be properly assessed. We saw under this entire series, we saw how agriculture, that there are still coercive government controls and interventions starting from production to distribution. So global agricultural economy is highly distorted. This is mainly because imbalance of economic and political power in the hands of farmers of developed and developing countries. In developing countries, commercial and capitalistic agriculture is in the place which is owned by influential agri corporations. They easily influence policies of WTO and extract a better deal for themselves at the cost of farmers of developing world. ये हम एंटायर कॉन्सेप्ट एक हम स्पेशल वीडियो रखेंगे ये पूरा कंसेप्ट समझने के लिए. So farming in developing world is subsistence and supports a large number of poor people. With globalization, there has been high fluctuations in commodity prices which put them in massive risk. This is particularly true for cash crops like cotton and sugarcane. So recent crisis in both the crops indicates towards this conclusively. Also, there is a global food versus fuel confusion going on. Sugar and corn are used to manufacture ethanol, which is used as fuel. In USA, corn is produced mainly for this purpose only, as sugarcane is in Brazil. Now, there are apprehensions that what if converting food into fuel is more remunerative for producers. More than 1 billion of people still live in hunger. Much more are just hand to mouth. It is futile to expect that free market will take care of these people who don't have purchasing power. Clearly, agriculture is biggest market failure, but this has been rarely discussed for being so in WTO. Another global born out of globalization is one of the GM crops, or genetically modified crop as we say. So on a positive note, India is largely self-sufficient, and high value distinguished products like basmati rice are in very high demand all over the world. Generally speaking, India is better placed to take up challenge of globalization in this case. If done in sustainable and inclusive manner, it will be a huge multiplier impact on whole economy. Worldwide compulsion to develop food processing industry is another landmark effect of globalization. Apart from these, farm mechanization, that is use of electronic solar pumps, tractors, combines, etc. all the fruits of globalization. So now moving a step further, information technology is being incorporated into agriculture to facilitate the farming. Now let us look into the impact of the service sector, how it is going on. So in this case, globalization has been a boom for developing countries and ban for the developed countries. Due to historic economic disparity between the two groups, human resources have been much cheaper in developing economies. This was further facilitated by IT revolution, and this was all culminated in exodus of numerous jobs from developed countries to developing countries. Here, US had have to be jealousy guard its job as we guard our agriculture. Speaking about IT industry, so software, BPO, KPO, LPO industry boom in India has helped India to absorb a big chunk of demographic dividend which otherwise could have been wasted. Best part of that export of services result in export of high value. This is almost no material exported which consumes some natural resource. One thing exported in is labor to professionals which doesn't deplete, instead grows with time. Now India is better placed to become truly knowledge economy. Exports of these services constitute a big part of India's foreign exchange earning. In fact, only 3 years India had current account surplus, that is from 2000 to 2002 was the back of this export only. So speaking about banking, in banking too, India has been a gainer only. Since reforms, there have been 3 rounds to license grants for private banks. Private banks such as ICICI, HDFC, they have also, and also some of the foreign banks, they raise standards of Indian banking industry. Also for that matter, I would say Yes Bank, yes, they had done that. So now there is a cut through competition in the banking industry, and public sector banks are more responsive to customers. Here too, IT on the path of bringing banking revolution. Now government schemes like Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, such were the schemes which aimed to achieve their targets by using Aadhaar card. So having said this, public sector banks still remain major lender in our country. Similarly, insurance industry now offers variety of products such as unit-linked insurance plans, travel insurance, etc. But in India, life insurance business is still decisively in hands of Life Insurance Corporation of India. Speaking about the stock market, so another major development in one stock market is one in the stock markets. So stock markets are platforms on which corporate securities can be traded real time. It provides mechanism for constant price discovery, option for investors to exit from or enter into investment anytime. These are backbone of free markets these days, and there is robust trade going on all over the world and stock exchanges. The importance can be estimated from the fact that behavior of stock markets of country is strongest indicator of health and future prospects of the economy. Now these markets has thrown open wide array of associated services such as investment banking, asset management, underwriting services, then hedging advice, etc. These collective employ lakhs of people all over India. Similarly, there are commodities markets which provides avenue for investment and sale for various eligible commodities. Speaking about the telecom sector, conventionally telecom sector was government owned monopoly and consequently service was quite substandard. After reforms, private telecom sector reached pinnacle of success and Indian telecom companies went global. However, corruption and rent seeking marred growth and outlook this sector. Entry of modern direct to home, that is D2H service, saw improvements in quantity of television services on one hand and loss of livelihood for numerous local cable operators. So ये चीज़ें होती रहती है, राइट? कुछ अगर नई टेक्नोलॉजी आती है तो अगर हम खुद को अपडेट नहीं करते हैं देन नेचुरली हमारा जो हमारी ब्रेड अर्निंग है वो चली जाएगी. So speaking about education and health sector, it should be noted that food, that is agriculture, and health and education, and to lesser extent banking, are among the basic necessities which every human being deserves and can't do without. Unfortunately, in developing countries, there are market failures in all these sectors and a majority of people can't afford beyond certain limit or can't afford at all. Concept of free markets, globalization, liberalization, etc. fails here miserably. Free market provides goods and services to all people who can afford paying for them, not to those who deserve and need these. Now, if we consider these sectors from angle of our inclination towards free markets, certainly there has been a lot of progress. There has been world class education available to India in deregulation and resulted in mushrooming of private engineering and medical colleges, but in reality this has far reaching devastating effect on society. Now these new colleges accommodate only on minuscule proportion of aspirants at very high cost. A few years back, an independent organization Transparency International came out with report claiming that India's medical system is most corrupt in the world. This was no surprise, we all know from where it started. So high fees of education forces many aspirants to take educational loans from banks. After qualifying job market is unable to absorb majority of them. So practice turns out to be the option as an option of last resort. Now to make the decent living and to pay back the loans, a person is lured by corruption. Consequently, when many similar cases are put together, we get a corrupt system, economy and society. So that is the root cause of corruption. Reality is that after deregulation and liberalization, government along with other sectors pulled its hand from social sectors too. Now there is Medicore, there is a Medicore to high quality options are available in private sector, which can be availed as per one's budget. In public sector, less than Medicore and Medicore options are available. This leaves huge proportion of aspiring students and expecting patients. On social front, India's performance is deplored all over the world and is probably behind all important developing economies. This lacuna has been recognized and government has been, has taken this charge. In case of education, almost universal enrollments have been achieved up to primary level, and now efforts should be on improving the quality. So that student of public schools comes at a part with at least average private ones, so that should be done extensively. सो गाइज दैट्स ऑल फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर क्लास. हमारे आगे आने वाले जो हमारी क्लास होंगी उसमें हम डिस्कस करेंगे what was the need of industrial policy, what are the arguments against the industrial policy, common instruments of industrial policy and evolution and changes in industrial policy of India. तो गाइज आपकी GS पेपर 3 में ये सारे टॉपिक्स इंक्लूड किए गए हैं. मेजॉरिटी अगर मैं आपको सिलेबस का टाइटल बता दूं तो इट इज इफेक्ट्स ऑफ लिबरलाइजेशन ऑन इकोनॉमी, चेंजेस इन इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी एंड देयर इफेक्ट्स ऑन इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ. तो इससे बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन जो है जो खींच जाते हैं. सो गाइज दैट्स ऑल फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो. अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छा लगे देन डू हिट द लाइक बटन. अगर आप हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे नए हो तो सब्सक्राइब बटन वहाँ पे प्रेस कीजिएगा. वहाँ पे छोटी सी एक नोटिफिकेशन बेल आइकन आएगा, उसको भी प्रेस कीजिएगा सो दैट यू कैन गेट नोटिफाइड एवरी टाइम वी आर ऑन यूट्यूब. थैंक्स अ लॉट फॉर वॉचिंग गाइज एंड टेक केयर.